Winter season is always a guarantee that Barney Rosenzweig is going to stop by to schmooze a little bit. We've been out in California.
Out in California and in New York.
So what have you been up to?
Mostly lazing about and catching up with a few old friends and celebrating the New Year holiday and seeing some shows. I fulfilled a childhood thing of mine. I went to, when we were in New York, I went to see The Mikado, which when I grew up, my father made me a Gilbert and Sullivan file. So I grew up with the Dolichar Opera Company and loved all those things. Could sing the entire libretto for The Mikado at the age of 3. There's a recording, so it's not just me saying that. There's an actual recording of me doing that. And it was a real disappointment. You know, I mean, they were all well-intentioned, but I didn't know there were that many bad actors in New York. The Dolichar Opera Company had the exclusive rights to Gilbert and Sullivan until the copyright ran out, which was 100 years or so after they started. And once the copyright ran out, anybody could do Gilbert and Sullivan. And the bad news is that just about anybody did. And it's destroyed the Dolichar Opera Company and really ruined the experience, the real experience of seeing Gilbert and Sullivan on stage.
Are we deluding ourselves because we're older that we want to see what we remember when in reality nothing is ever going to be like that again?
Well, delusion is part of getting older. I mean, I delude myself that I look something like I used to, you know. I'm deluded every day until I get in front of the mirror.
You don't look a day over 32.
Right. I feel not too much a day over 32, and then that mirror comes along and ruins my illusion.
Now that you're 80 years old, do you...
About to be 80. 80th year. 80th
okay, you're in your 80th year.
Right.
Do you think there's one more big adventure ahead for you?
There was some loose talk about doing a documentary about myself. And I was really excited about it. I really wanted to do that. I mean, you know, how did this guy, this Mrs. Rosenzweig's little boy from East L.A., you know, this is what television was like when he was in East L.A., and this was what television was like after he had his shot at it. And there's a remarkable difference. I had some impact in the world. The idea that we would see what television was like after me and what it was like before me was something that it was more than just the typical ego trip for me. The idea that we would do that, it was a fulfillment of what I consider to be a universal fantasy. It was like being able to go to your own funeral and hear what everybody said about you.
Just want to interject in case anybody in our audience doesn't know what you're talking about at the moment.
Can you imagine that?
This is the creator of Cagney and Lacey, one of the best detective series to hit, and one of the pioneers in bringing women closer to equality by showing that they have lives and that they can be detectives just like men.
The experience of getting older so far is terrific as far as I'm concerned. I've never been happier. I've never been, I don't know that I can say I've never been more vital, but I'm pretty damn close to being about as vital as I've ever been. And adventure was never high on my list of activities.
Oh, so, I just thought it was on everybody's list.
No,
I don't have a bucket list. New adventures.
I don't have. Well, you are an adventurous sort of guy. I mean, you plucked yourself up out of New York, came down here, and when you were in business, you know, you didn't come down here to rest like I did. You came down here to create a new life for yourself and a new style and a new kind of career. That is adventuresome, and I admire that. I just came here to lie down, and I do a good job of that. I don't have a bucket list. There's no place in the world that I haven't been that I really, really want to go, or I do it. I don't have a lot of people that I owe apologies to, or a lot of people that I want to make amends with. I have very few regrets. I'm very proud of what I've accomplished, and I don't spend a lot of time thinking about what might have been, how I might have accomplished more. I see definite roads in life that I made choices to go one way or the other, and that how I sometimes look back and say, try to imagine. I run a movie on the back of my eyelids, thinking about how it would have been if I'd gone the other direction. I do indulge in that every now and then. It's a good way to spend a rainy day.
Sure.
But I've never gone down one of those roads differently. And I said, oh, that was better than what I did. In fact, it never has been as good. So, but that's the way I choose to perceive the movie I run.
Do you enjoy the way you're spending your time? And do you look forward to spending more time the next day, at the end of the day?
Yeah, there's never enough time in a day. Never enough time. People ask me, what do you do all day long? Today was a very busy day. I mean, I got a beard trim, I got my teeth cleaned, and I'm coming to see you. That's a very, very, very full day. And I don't like...
How do you handle
I
all
never
of
do
that?
more than 3 things a day. This is the subtropics. I don't move very fast. On Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I do a little Pilates, and I play tennis with the pro, on the grass at Fisher Island. And I go to the spa, and I take a shower, and then I take a swim, and then I take a jacuzzi, and then a cold plunge, and then another shower, and then I sit around and nap for an hour or so before I go out for the evening. So it's a long,
It's
busy
a long,
day.
tough life, and somebody's got to live it, so
Yeah.
it might as well be you.
I don't have enough time to write as much as I want to. But the good news is I write fast. Now, that's because it's relatively superficial what I'm writing. But I wrote a little essay the other day. It took me about 10 minutes to write it. It took me about 4 or 5 hours to polish it. But I do write fast, and I like to write.
Who do you write for?
Myself. This was therapy, as a matter of fact. This was I had gone to a community meeting on Monday night, and I had PTSD at the meeting. It reminded the feelings I had at that meeting were reminiscent of how I felt when I was active in the community, in the local politics.
The only difference is on Fisher Island, I imagine Oprah Winfrey at this meeting, and Mel Brooks, and all of the other people
Well,
that live, they're all getting up
yeah.
and complaining about something.
You've got it right. Everybody's getting up to complain about something. When I was new to the island, I was seduced into running for office, and did. And it was the only truly bad experience I had in Florida. I won the election, which was the worst thing that could have happened, and was served for 3 years. Wasted time. Aggravating, terrible, wasted time. And I have spent the rest of my adult life on Fisher Island by being incredibly happy by observing a few rules. One is I never, or rarely ever, go anywhere where more than 6 of my neighbors gather at any one time, and I studiously avoid eye contact with everybody on the island. When I go to lunch, the waiter comes to me and says, "Mr. Rosenzweig, are you dining alone today?" And I always say, "Only if I'm very fortunate." So I went to this meeting, though. It was a town hall meeting. And these very bright guys, and they all are men, by the way, who are serving currently, presented the results of 3.5 years of negotiation with the developer. And it began. The nitpicking and the second guessing and the hazarai from these people. And I had to leave. I had to leave the meeting. And I went with some friends later that evening, and I was in a terrible mood. And I had to apologize to everybody. I said, "I'm sorry, my disposition is so poor, but I'm not feeling well physically. This is affecting me." And I went home and I wrote this article. It made me feel much better. And now it'll be published in the Village Voice, or the Fisher Island Voice, not the Village Voice, but our little Village Voice. And that'll help make me feel even better, as I will incur the wrath of all my old enemies and stimulate the new people on the island into saying, "What's he talking about, that old guy?" Anyway, so I write for that. I occasionally write a blog for the Cagney and Lacey website. I write for my family. I write in my diary almost every day. And I write in my diary as if it were going to be published, as if someone's going to find it, and I'll be exposed. And that's
When do you think? Do you think they'll find it in the near future or 100 years
they
from
won't
now?
find it till I'm dead.
Yeah, well, I understand that, but afterwards, do you think it'll be a short period after you're dead?
Well, it's
or do you
always a
think
big
it'll-
deal in my will who I'm leaving my computer to, and the codes to get into all this stuff. And I don't remember now who I've most recently changed it to.
You know, our audience may or may not know that you're married to Sharon Gless, and this is a lady that amazes me because she's always working. What's she up to these days?
Not working as much as she'd like, but busy. She was in L.A. and was one of the stars of Rizzoli and Isles. Ran into her at a restaurant, came over and curtsied, as actresses of a certain age tend to do. The ones who were about 20 years younger than Sharon, who recognize that she's the reason they got into the business, or that, as this gal said, you paved the streets on which I walk. And said, I'm going to direct, we're doing a 100th episode, and I'm going to direct it. Would you do me the honor of being in the show? And Sharon said, sure. So she did a Rizzoli and Isles. And then she got a nice job, a 4-episode arc in a new series based on the old movie The Exorcist. Not my kind of show, kind of rough and
Yeah,
dark.
it's very dark.
Very dark, but a very good homage to the original movie. It was a unique experience for Sharon because she has worked a lot, almost nonstop until about a year ago. And this is the first time, really, that she's been a guest star. And it's different, you know, if you're one of the regulars, everybody knows you, and you know you know where to go, where the lunch is served. And
Yeah, you know which makeup person to use.
exactly. You get all that stuff.
Yeah.
Now you come on as a guest, and it's it's hard. It's a big adjustment. And I think she had a hard time adjusting to that. It wasn't as happy for her. They were nice to her. Nobody was mean to her. It's just different being a guest star than it is being a regular on a series.
I imagine
Regulars
so.
are all members of the family, and a guest is like, a guest. So, and not a particularly, not someone who's, everybody's fawning over necessarily. So it was a different experience. She's now very busy, though. She has a deal with Simon and Schuster. They want her to write a book about her life, and so she's doing that. And she's now out in California. She's going to Ojai, which is sort of a little health camp that she goes to every year with a couple of friends, and she's doing her writing out there. And I'm hoping, with any luck, that the book will be ready for distribution Christmas time of this year. But if not, next Christmas. Whatever. She's got a great story to tell, not just Cagney and Lacey, not just Burn Notice, not just Queer as Folk. That's her career, which is certainly...
No, I'm interested in Sharon Gless.
Yeah, they'll take up a good part of the book,
story.
but she's had a great story. She has a wonderful family, interesting family, fifth-generation Californian. Her father's family owned most of what is now the San Fernando Valley at one time and lost it over the years, as families do. And her mother's family her grandfather was Howard Hughes' attorney and Louis B. Mayer's attorney and Cecil B. DeMille's attorney. So she comes by all this naturally, and a very, very fascinating group of people that she comes from. And she's worked with some of the greats of this business and has had a nice long life in it. So it'll be a good read. I can't wait to read it. Plus, she'll write about me. Anyway, thanks for letting me come by today.
Thank you. I enjoyed talking to you.
Okay, always.